We examine, for example, in the first phase of this study, we examine how Asian companies compete with American companies in the Pacific region. The sentence opens with an introductory phrase in the first phase of the study. Okay? Easy for the readers to get a gist of the paragraph is about. The first phase of the study. We examine we. It starts with a subject, we. Very short, one word, subject. Examine, very short and very exact verb. Good, good and good. Examine how American companies compete with Asian companies compete with American companies in the Pacific region. As the sentence flows toward the end, it grows. It starts to involve more and more information. Conceptually, it's getting more and more complex, which is also good. Like we just said in the last session, a good sentence is constructed in terms of concept such that simple ideas flows to complex ideas. And the second sentence, we examine in particular their labor costs and ability to introduce new products quickly. Again, the second sentence follows the same pattern, flowing from simple to complex. Starting with we examine, with short, simple subject and with exact words. Short and exact words. Okay? And the third one, we developed from the study a plan that will show American industry how to restructure their facilities. Again, from simple to complex, from old to new. As at least for the readers, this one is much easier to grasp than the first example paragraph, which with all three sentences starting at a much more complicated and longer and windier level. So much for this. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Let's move on to the next lesson, shall we say. The next lesson is about emphasis. In this lesson, we are going to discuss how a sentence ends in order that all the rules, principles, laws of good writing so far we have mentioned are also followed. And we'll add on top of all those construction rules and the principles we just mentioned previously, and add on to them more principles for better construction of sentences and then of paragraphs and passages. So far we have been told how to open a sentence, how to start a sentence. We need to something shorter, simpler, but more related to the topic of the whole passage or paragraph. And we need to start from something familiar and then move towards something that is not familiar. We tend to have this feeling or this impression that the beginning part of a sentence is more important in that they're not only more focused, but also more importantly, they attract more of our attention. That's why we feel it's more focused. The opening of a sentence, the subject topic, and the short verb, they attract more of our attention. Okay? Occupy more memory. Emphasis naturally comes to the opening, the beginning part of a sentence. In this part, when we try to study how sentences should end, we'll also find that toward the end of a sentence, emphasis is also located in that part. If the first few words of a sentence are worth special attention, so are the last few words of a sentence. Emphasis comes also to the ending part, the last few words of a sentence. Take a look at this example, and then the next 1A and 1B, and tell me your impressions about these two paragraphs or these two sentences. How are they constructed? What impressions do you have? For 1A, take a look. For 1A, where is the subject, topic or subject for 1A? The subject starts from a social metric and ends here. A very large head, a very big opening. And the verbal part is comparatively short. Like we said, emphasis also comes to the ending part of a sentence. So the subject of study is being emphasized. But by the time we have reached emphasizing ending part of the sentence, 9 out of 10, we have already forgotten what the subject is, what subject of the study is, because the subject part, the topic part, is simply too long and too complicated. It's already have broken the construction of the sentence has already broken the law, the principle we talked in last session. That is, begin with something short and simple. And 1B starts with an introductory phrase. Oh, good. Which makes us, heave a sigh. Not that complicated. We analyze. Good, very, very good. We need short beginnings. We analyze. Now, toward the end, it grows and grows. More complicated ideas, more information is being brought in. And toward the end, using social metric actuarial criteria to determine the changes in the projecting deficits. Perhaps what's being emphasized lies in the last part of the sentence, which involves more technical terms. Take a look at the social metric. What does it mean? No idea. Measuring social something? Actuarial is about accounting. We have little idea without knowledge within a specific academic discipline. Okay? Toward the end, information grows and pile on each other, bringing in, more importantly, the so-called technicality part of a text. So B is better than A. With the example we just talked about, we should by now have known a reader tries to struggle with the first complex grammar the writer created within the text. And second, the difficult concept, difficult ideas. And just now I called them technicality part of a text, or technical terms, sometimes they're also called, right? Or jargons, or be careful. Readers struggle with grammar, especially complicated grammar, complicated constructions, and then complicated ideas. Take a look at this example. What do you think? Which one do you think is better? Is well organized, better organized, similar. This one is similar, right? Grammar. In terms of grammar, Lincoln's claim that it starts from here, right? Lincoln's claim that was God's punishment for slavery. This is the subject topic of the very sentence. It involves clause and it involves many a piece of information. Okay, very long, very complicated, both in terms of idea, concept, and grammar. So my conclusion should be, this one is not very good. And toward the end, nothing difficult appears. Okay? With the second one, starts with an introductory phrase in the last part of the speech. Lincoln claims, good, well done. Short, simple subject, which is followed by what? A simple verb, claims. And then toward the right end, the ending part of the sentence, things starts to grow. More information is being brought in. God gave civil war to both North and the South of America as a punishment for slavery. Toward the end, as a punishment for slavery is being emphasized. Try to feel that when we speak, when we make sentences, especially toward the end of the sentence, for the last few words of the sentence, as if we're trying to tap our fingers on the table with the few last words being said. Okay. Sometimes it's tapping fingers on the table as a sign of emphasis. Sometimes when we're speaking, we try to thump our fist on the table to make that point even stronger, as if we were trying to argue or quarreling with people. Right. Complex grammar, complex meaning. This is what I just said 2 minutes ago. Conceptually speaking, the harder part for readers to grasp always involves new, unfamiliar concepts, ideas, and sometimes it's things, it's materials, it's stuff. Either stuff or idea. Okay? Complexity arises. Complexity arises when new things, stuff, phenomenon are brought up. It's called what? Technical terms. Like I just said, I call them technicality part of the text, right? Technicality, technical terms is better and simpler. Take a look, take a picture of this one, and then the next one. Let me know what your impressions are about these two passages, 3a and 3b. 我找人来说一下，谁给我说一下 ？Who has any idea？ 谁给我说一下？刚才谁说了？刚才玉贤说了，是吧？再找一个人啊，再找一个人啊，支棱起来啊，再找，随机找。美文，美文呢？啊，美文。哦 ，sorry， 翻过去。A 和 B 就先说 A 吧，行吗？这个 A 怎么样 ？What do you think？ Her impression is, 她用了一个词非常有意思。She employed a very interesting word, rhythm of the paragraph. He said, right? The rhythm of the paragraph is it's broken, right? Or very interesting vocabulary. Without much ado, let's break the first paragraph down into sentences and focus on what we just discussed 3 minutes ago about construction of each sentence, how it begins and how it ends. The first paragraph, A3, 3a, the role of calcium blockers, blah, blah, blah. The first sentence, the opening of the first sentence runs on and on until where? Until here. Very long subject, right? Can be seen through an understanding of the role of calcium in the activation of muscle cells. The beginning part is long, the ending part is also complex and long. Okay? So this sentence creates, it not only does not follow the rules, the principles of a simpler beginning, but also by breaking the rule, by breaking the principle, it creates more difficulties, more barriers for the readers to access the information. And the second one has almost the same problem. Take a look. The second one begins with a subject that is packed with technical terms. Oh God, what is actin, myosin, tropomyosin, and troponin? What are these things, God's sake? And then this sentence wraps up with an even more unheard of vocabulary. Sarcomere. What the hell is that? Look, problematic. From the very beginning is problematic till the very end is even more problematic. That's the second sentence. The third one, problematic, similarly problematic, but only on a larger and broader and wider scale. The beginning part involves difficult, tough technicality. And the ending part involves even more. Not so good. Don't understand. Question mark. Everywhere I see question mark. For the last sentence, it wraps up the paragraph with the same problem that infested every sentence. With that said, take a look at the breaking down of the second paragraph. Calcium, control sarcomere. Take a look. Each sentence ends with something new, with something unfamiliar. Cardiac irregularity, sarcomere, actin blah blah blah, myosin and so on, ATP, ACE, protein, so on and so forth. Take a look at 3b. Each sentence ends with something that is much more unfamiliar, very new and very challenging. More often than not, they involve technical terms. When a muscle contracts, good. It begins with everything is simple, right? We understand everything for the first very few words. When a muscle contracts, it uses calcium. Calcium, well, depends. Perhaps if you are middle school children, you haven't touched upon the subject of chemistry, then you have problem with calcium. But if you study that, it gives you no difficult time understanding calcium, what calcium means. It's just an element in the element, what is that called? Starting with the hydrogen and ending with something very radioactive. The second sentence is good too. If we can understand short and simple beginning, right? Short and simple on how affects contraction. We explain the so-called, toward the ending part of the sentence, more technical terms, more conceptual difficulties are put in place to give us challenge. But before that, don't forget, we have already been massaged. We have already been prepared because we started with something very simple. Okay? For the second sentence, it's good. It has 2 filaments. Easy. School children language. One thick and one thin. This one is good. We have a break. We catch a break. Remember, we are writing sentence after sentence. They need to be, the length of them need to be diversified. We cannot make long sentences after long sentences. No. Readers will get very exhausted within the span of 100 words or 200 words. We need to give them a break by what? By shorter sentences, by sentences involving simple vocabulary. Okay. The next sentence, those filaments, those what filaments, which was mentioned in the previous sentence. Filament. Those filaments consist of 4 proteins that regulate contraction. Okay, from this part, column, the sentence starts to involve these strange and new and hard concepts. And the next one, muscles contracts. Good. Begins with things simple. Contracts when a protein in the thin filament, old to new, filament, thin filament here, old to new. Good. Actin interacts with the protein with a thick filament, something new. Thin was mentioned previously, now it's the thick ones. Myosin, an energy-producing TAP-based protein. Okay, technicality. Myosin, ATPase. protein. Okay? So the pattern is, when writing passages, paragraphs, articles with such large number of technical terms and difficult concepts, what's the pattern of constructing sentences involving these hard things? The pattern is very simple. Put the challenge at the end of the sentence. Make the beginning part simple. Make the beginning part easy for the readers to get started. So take a look, here's another example. Okay? These ways of introducing unfamiliar terms, hard, tough terms, technical terms, even work for the professional essays, professional texts for professional readers, such as people who are pursuing medical careers, people who pursue hard, complicated sciences. Okay. Oh, this example is from the New England Journal of Medicine. Okay. Take a look at the bold-faced ending of the sentence. If we first meet these lymphokine activated killer cells, aka LAK, what the hell? Just imagine if a sentence begins with such lengthy and tough and technical words. Unbearable, right? But it ends with them. Emphasis is being laid upon them, and meanwhile, it only appears in the very end. We have been psychologically and mentally and intellectually massaged by the writer, such that our understanding flows like the information flow from old to new. Our understanding will also flow to the very end, even if the ending part involves difficult, tough, challenging, unfamiliar ideas and concepts. So here's the point. Very brief. Keep them in mind. Two pieces of suggestions. First, manage two kinds of difficulties. The first challenge is complex phrases and clauses. And then the second challenge involves information. We better be organized for the sake of easy understanding on the part of the readers. This one in here is the specific advice. Sentences should begin with elements that are relatively short. Short introductory phrase or clause, followed by short, concrete subject. Short, concrete subject. And then followed by a verb of specific action. Short subject, short verb. Okay? After the verb, then the sentence can pick up speed, pick up rhythm, just like our classmate just said. If it is well constructed, it's well built. The general principle is carry the readers not from complexity to simplicity, but rather the contrary, from simplicity to complexity. Right, this is another chapter. Emphasis. We've been talking about emphasis, right? So another term, a synonym for emphasize is stress. Emphasis and stress, basically they mean the same thing. That is being stressed, that is being emphasized, they mean the same thing. But we only have 5 more minutes to go for this session. Right, I think we'll just leave this new lesson, leave this new section to the next session, okay? For next week. We have 5 more minutes to go. Question session. Any questions? This 5 minutes is good for our question session. Question and Q&A session, let's call it. Question and answer session. Any questions about this course? Anything about homework assignments and anything about the teaching, the style of teaching or the content of teaching? Any idea, any advice, any requirements, requests are welcome. 问题 anything, any idea, suggestions, advice. 我们来说有什么问题没有？正好剩那几分钟的话，咱们讲了毛，很快就1个月的课就过去了，太快了，时间这个过得太匆匆了。有什么大家反馈？有什么 feedback？ 有什么需求？有什么要求？作业多吗？首先第一个问题。好，谁？就是想叹一口气是吧？怎么着？能做是吧 ？Doable 是吧 ？Doable homework。
能做，但是不知道做出来的东西是不是您想要的。
是这个样子。这个你们的那些个 essays， 你们那些个 paragraphs， 你们这个怎么说呢？按说的话，应该有一个 workshop。We should have workshops for your writing, during which I comment, I make revision on your homework writings. Okay? We should have workshop sessions, ideally speaking. That's why I just ask, do you have time? Do you have time during the weekend? So that we can do some online sessions of such workshop, during which I comment, I revise your homework assignments. I mean, not all of your assignment, but some, typical ones, or those who want to have their assignments revised, advised upon. One by one, 肯定 we don't have time for that. 谁需要的话，你们就可以那个毛遂自荐。我希望我的这个作品，您来帮助点评一下、修改一下。我们在那个 session 当中，我们就做这个工作。看周末的时候，我们能不能找一个时间 ？We find some time during the weekend, preferably weekend evening. Okay, weekend evening, we can do some workshop session, writing workshop session. OK， 你们看有没有这时间？比如说周5的晚上或者周6的晚上，我们做1个小时的这种 workshop， 来弥补一下我们课上的时间的不够。工作日的话呢，当然也可以，没问题。因为什么？因为工作日的话，你们晚上有那个 evening electives， 对不对？你们晚上有选修课，对不对？
我们可以选择的是周3下午上行测那个时间。
周3的什么时候？
下午那个本来是上行测的俩，但是行测一共就上1个月，所以剩下3个月。
哦 ，OK， 因为现在那个刑事政策课，对吧？刑事政策课上完了，就等于周3下午就空出来了，是这个意思，对吧？可以的，那样可以的。周3下午我不行，我白天的下午都不行，晚上可以吗？
晚上那就
不一定了，是吧？
课就见仁见智。
We're writing the PEL structure. Does the structure apply to all audiences? Like when the author is writing to a primary school student and to a professor, does it apply to in all cases?
Like I said in the very beginning of the last session, when we barely started, I mentioned rules are made to be broken. A lot of time, depending on our need, on our construction of idea, on our individual need for the flow of idea, many a time some rules has to be sacrificed. Depending on the general picture, the whole picture. Because sometimes we cannot follow, for example, the PEL structure strictly, word by word. The first sentence has to be a topic sentence, and then has to be followed by this and that, and then has to be wrapped up with that. A lot of times, some part is missing. and some part may be reversed. That is to say, put in front of the other, which generally speaking should be in the first place. So really depends, depending on your need, depending on the circumstance. We are talking about rules, principles, but these rules and principles are not, say, physical principles, like Newton's law. Like if we raise this apple this far and we release it, it falls to the ground no matter what, as long as we are near the surface of the earth. Our rules and laws in writing, and more generally speaking, perhaps in the field of humanities and social science, they're not that strict. A lot of times it's a matter of probability. More probable, this should be done with the PEEL structure. But in rare circumstances, the rule, the principle is broken. Also, you ask a perfect question, but I answered it with cliche, I should say. This is a cliche. Okay, nothing? No? We haven't decided when the session should be held, right? Doesn't matter. 这个 workshop session 的话，我再想一想，再调一下时间，然后我们找个时间，尽量跟大家的时间能对得上的时间，我们来做一下这个作文的批改的这个 workshop， 好吧？这个其实我跟大家说非常有必要，非常管用。